Star State battle. Josh Hamilton and the Rangers are in Houston to take on the surprising Astros in the second game of their interleague matchup.
The Texas Rangers have reached the World Series the last 2 seasons. This year, they're looking to break through and win it. Led by Triple Crown threat Josh Hamilton and a deep lineup, the Rangers are off to another great start and lead the American League West. Tonight, they take on the scrappy Houston Astros, their in-state rival and next year a division rival. It's a Lone Star State matchup. Next. An appetizing evening of baseball coming up on Fox. The winner of the season series will take home the Silver Boot. Interleague baseball from Minute Maid Park in Houston. The defending American League champion Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first of 8 consecutive Saturday nights of primetime baseball on Fox. It's baseball night in America. Kenny Albert with Tom Verducci. Texas Rangers back-to-back American League crowns. They hope to get to the World Series for a 3rd straight year and win it this time. And Tom, over the first quarter of the regular season, they've been one of the best teams in all of baseball.
They really have. And of course, you have to talk about Josh Hamilton being the headliner, the front man to not just a very good band, but a full-blown orchestra, because that is how complete and diverse the Texas Rangers are as a team. They lead the league and the world in runs scored, and they're so diverse on offense that they lead not just in slugging percentage, but also infield hits. And on the mound, they've allowed the fewest runs in the league. So far, we've gone through a quarter of the season, and if there is an obvious flaw with the Texas Rangers, we have not seen it.
Record of 25-15, first place in the American League West. They won the series opener here last night, 4-1 against an Astros club that lost over 100 games last year. Very young team. They've exceeded expectations in 2012.
They really have. There's no question they're in a rebuilding phase, and they're borrowing from the blueprint of the Texas Rangers with strength up the middle in a double play combination. Jed Lowry at 28, the shortstop, leads the team in home runs. And at 22 years old, Jose Altuve leads the team in hits. It harkens back to the Rangers when they built with Ian Kinsler and Elvis Andrus for their double play combination.
Astros and Rangers coming up. Josh Hamilton leading the American League in all 3 Triple Crown categories. We will see Josh in the top of the first inning next. Verducci, second of a 3-game interleague series, Rangers and Astros. The Rangers batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live boss. Ian Kinsler leads off, followed by Elvis Andrus. Josh Hamilton hits 3rd. Adrian Beltre in the cleanup spot, followed by Michael Young. David Murphy bats 6th. Bottom of the order, Nelson Cruz, Mike Napoli, and the pitcher Derek Holland will bat 9th in the National League ballpark. The opening pitch is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Rangers getting set to face the 26-year-old right-hander Lucas Harrell, making his 9th start of the season, drafted in the 4th round back in 2004 by the Chicago White Sox. Record of 2-3 with an earned run average of 4.40. Ian Kinsler steps in. The Rangers' second baseman had 3 hits in the game last night, a 4-1 Texas Rangers victory. And the first pitch from Harrell for a called strike, 0-1. Harrell's numbers over his first 8 starts as Kinsler falls behind, 0-2.
And you've seen it right there, the sink on that good fastball. That's what he lives by. That's his bread and butter. He pitches to contact. Second lowest strikeout to 9 inning rate in the National League. He does have some problems in the first inning, Ken. He got a situation where his career ERA in the first inning, 10.38. We talked to Brad Mills about that. He said, hey, he's still a young pitcher, not a lot of experience, tends to get a little excited early in the game. Navigating the first inning, very important to Lucas Harrell.
Facing the Rangers for the first time in his career. Now 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ian Kinsler leading off. He'll be followed by Elvis Andrus and then Josh Hamilton. Kinsler 8 hits in his last 19 at bats. Leads the league in runs scored. Kinsler went around, says the first base umpire Brian Ruggie. 1 away.
Watch the action on this two-seamer here from Harrell. Really runs hard and in on Kinsler there. I'm not sure that was a swing, but certainly the first base umpire did. I think if you're the Astros and you're Doug Ropale, the pitching coach, that's exactly what you want to see coming out of the gate.
So with one away, here's the shortstop, Elvis Andrus. Batting .318, 6th in the American League. 6th in the league in hits as well with 49. Josh Hamilton looming in the on-deck circle. Now 1-1 on Andrus, who has reached base at all 35 of his starts this season. One for 4 in the game last night. 1-1 and a shot knocked down by Matt Downs. The third baseman fires across to retire Andrus for out number 2. So 2 up, 2 down as Josh Hamilton steps in for the first time tonight, leading the American League in all 3 Triple Crown categories, Tom.
And I guarantee you, Lucas Harrell knows the scouting report. You have to start Josh Hamilton as if the count is 0-2. On first pitches this year, he's hitting .516.
Wow.
And that's a perfect first pitch for a guy. Josh is an amazing hitter. We all know that. Well, one reason why he's so amazing, he swings the bat so often. One of the most aggressive hitters in the game.
Takes ball 2 from Lucas Harrell. Believe it or not, Hamilton has gone 6 games without a home run. That's a season-long streak for Josh.
Sounds like a long time for Josh, but not for anybody else.
His bat goes flying. Past first base.
That's another category in which he leads the league. Most yards covered with a flying bat. You know, one thing about Josh is he grips the bat such a loose, relaxed grip. This happens a lot with him. That's just a picture-perfect swing, even when he doesn't make contact.
Of course, the bat he used when he hit 4 home runs in Baltimore back on May 8th is in Cooperstown.
Well, it's also cracked. They asked for it the night after the 4 home runs, and he said, no way, you're not getting this thing until it's broken. But the fear of the Hall of Fame was that it would wind up in the stands because he does throw his bat so often.
Carl Yastrzemski, the last major leaguer to win a Triple Crown back in 1967.
You know, it's been so long that most people just dismiss it when people get off to these sort of starts. But Josh Hamilton is in a different breed altogether. He does make the seemingly impossible seem possible.
Payoff pitch, ball 4. So Hamilton will head down to first, a 2-out base runner for the Texas Rangers.
The whole key there was getting the first 2 hitters in front of Josh Hamilton. And it's remarkable how many times Kinsler and Andrus have been on base in front of him. They both lead the team in walks. So that's a situation where Harrell did his job, where he had room for error against Josh Hamilton. And that's what you need with the bases empty.
So with 2 away and Hamilton on at first, here's Adrian Beltre working on a 9-game hitting streak. Went deep last night, his 8th home run of the season, drove in 2 runs. From Harrell, in for a called strike. 1-1.
And it's certainly not suggesting that the lineup drops off after you've given the sort of intentional walk to Hamilton. Beltre has been red hot. He is the definition of what a team looks for in terms of protecting an impact hitter.
Foul back now, 1-2. You mentioned in the open, Rangers lead all of baseball in batting average. They're first in runs, in hits, second in home runs. And they lead their division by 5 games.
But there's a tendency to write off the Rangers as a team that just bombs the ball. And we saw it here last night where on 3 different occasions, guys were hustling singles into doubles. Now, in one case, they were thrown out at second base, Ian Kinsler, but they run the bases as aggressively as any team in the league. And you see that Harold just making sure Hamilton knows, hey, I didn't forget about you. You cannot fall asleep on Josh Hamilton when he's on the bases. So the Rangers, to me, have the most varied offense in all of baseball. It's not just about the long ball.
Beltre awaiting the 1-2 from Lucas Harrell. High and tight, 2-2. Hamilton goes. No throw from Snyder. 4th steal of the season for Josh Hamilton.
And part of being a good base dealer, and Josh certainly is one, is picking the right count. You see he gets a breaking ball count, breaking ball pitch here. Terrific jump, straight steal all the way. Gets himself in the scoring position now. A single can put Texas on the board.
Payoff pitch to Beltre, and he fouls it off to the right side. Struck out the Astros in the field from left to right. Martinez, Schaefer, and Maxwell. Lee at first. Altuve and Lowry, the middle infielders, down to third. The battery of Harrell and Snyder. 2 outs, top of the first inning. Hamilton takes his lead off second. Payoff pitch to Beltre, another foul.
And you mentioned that battery. Brad Mills really likes Chris Snyder to catch Lucas Harrell. He really has become a personal catcher. It's interesting that, you know, Harrell, he came from the White Sox, as you mentioned. In his first 25 games, he had 8 different catchers catch him. And now they've found a nice combination here with Snyder behind the plate and Harrell on the mound.
Popped up to the right side. Lee backpedaling. Called off by Altuve, and that will do it for the Rangers in the first. Josh Hamilton stranded on second. 17-22, 5 games out in the National League Central. The Houston batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live boss. Jordan Schaefer leads off, followed by Jose Altuve. Justin Maxwell bats third. Carlos Lee in the cleanup spot. Then Jed Lowry. Matt Downs will hit 6th. Bottom of the order, J.D. Martinez, Chris Snyder, and the pitcher Lucas Harrell. As the Astros get set to face the 25-year-old left-hander with a record of 3-2 this season, Derek Holland.
Yeah, Derek Holland, to me, has terrific stuff. And he's working on 8 days of rest. It's going to be interesting to see how he comes out, especially in his case in the first inning. But he certainly is strong, given that extra rest.
His last start, May 10th in Baltimore, went 6 innings in the second game of the doubleheader. Ron Washington used him out of the bullpen on Monday. Pitched 1 inning against the Royals. Schaefer, Altuve, and Maxwell for the Astros here in the first. Jordan Schaefer 1 for 2 last night. 4-game hitting streak for Schaefer. Holland just 1-4 in interleague play. His only win came last season against these Astros. One, 2, and Schaefer down on strikes.
Well, you see Jordan Schaefer is the only left-hander in the lineup here, and here's one reason why. This terrific curveball from Derek Holland. To me, that's been one major change for him this year. He's gone to the curveball more than he has gone to the slider, and consequently, his swing and miss rate this year is a career high. And the underrated fastball, by that I mean people don't think of Derek Holland as a pure power pitcher. But if you lined up all the left-handed starting pitchers in baseball, there's only 2 pitchers who have a higher average velocity on the fastball than Derek Holland. both for Tampa Bay. It's David Price and Matt Moore. So he may not be a premium strikeout guy, but he has premium velocity from the left-hand side.
He won 16 games last season. Terrific in the postseason. Altuve shoots this one into right. And the catch is made by Nelson Cruz for out number 2. The signature game of Holland's career so far as Justin Maxwell steps in. Game 4 of last year's World Series when he did not allow a run against the Cardinals in 8 1/3 innings.
And don't forget, his innings log that at that point was well over 200, a big jump from the previous season. That's one reason why the Rangers have been careful with both him and Neftali Feliz here early in the season, making sure they take some days off, give them rest whenever they can.
With 2 outs, first pitch to Justin Maxwell misses away. Maxwell 3 seasons with the Washington Nationals. Spent last year in the Yankee system.
And we talked to Brad Mills about the challenge, so to speak, of putting together a lineup when you have such a young team. People aren't locked into roles in a batting order. Maxwell has never hit third, never started a game third, never started one fourth or fifth for that matter. And here he is in the 3-hole getting an opportunity, partly because J.D. Martinez has been scuffling. He began the year in the 3-hole, but also because Houston right now is a land of opportunity. Young players to establish themselves and to determine what kind of role they're going to have in the lineup.
Astros used 20 rookies last season. They're a young ball club again this year. As Maxwell pops out to the second baseman Kinsler. A 10-pitch 1-2-3 first inning for the 25-year-old left-hander Derek Holland. Sponsored by Chevrolet and sponsored by the makers of One A Day Mans, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. It's Baseball Night in America on Fox. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, second inning. Michael Young leading off against Lucas Harrell. Young started the season, Tom, on a tear, getting .403 over the first 3 weeks, but has cooled down since.
He has, but I think Ron Washington, the manager, saw really good signs last night. And his point was when Michael Young turns the corner and when he gets locked in, he stays in. It's not a fleeting thing. So they like what they saw last night.
Bounces this one to the shortstop, Lowry. One away. Tom, our 4 keys to the game.
Well, we talked about this at the start, that Derek Holland does have extra rest. He's strong. Sometimes that works for or against the pitcher. So far, it looks good. Deep thoughts. The Rangers, they love the long ball. They've won only 1 game this year without a home run. For the Astros, Lucas Harrell, according to plan, keep the table bare. Don't let those table setters on in front of Josh Hamilton. That's exactly what he did in the first inning. And in terms of the bullpen, excellent bullpen behind Harrell. He's not a 9-inning guy. He's not a 7-inning guy. The bullpen has been a very good plus for the Astros this year. They should come into play.
David Murphy batting .270. Did not play last night. 1-1. You mentioned the long ball. Rangers have homered in 12 consecutive games. Coming into play today, total of 21 home runs during that stretch.
And obviously those home runs can come anywhere in the lineup. That's what makes them so dangerous. But what I like right now about Harrell is watch him stay on the rubber. He's getting the ball. He's not walking around the mound. His rhythm and pace are terrific. His body language tells you right now, I am in control of this game. Not intimidated at all by this Texas lineup.
Strikeout number 2 for Lucas Harrell. Harrell 2-0 at home this season, 0-3 on the road. He's retired the first 2 Rangers here in the second inning as Nelson Cruz steps in. Cruz 1 for 4 in last night's game, batting .265. And he takes strike 1.
We talked about the battery here, the confidence that he has in Chris Snyder. That's a part of this, Kenny, where there's no shaking off. There's no fishing around for what does he want, what do I want to throw. It's get the ball. Watch him. He's really not leaving the rubber more than a couple of inches here. Get the ball, get the sign, take command, throw the pitch.
Ball 2 now, 2-1. Tim McClellan working behind the plate tonight. The crew chief, Brian Runge at first. Ted Barrett at second, and Marvin Hudson is the third base umpire. Up the middle, base hit into center field. First hit of the game for the Texas Rangers. A lot of Rangers fans have made the trip across the state. Chance of Cruz as Nelson headed down to first base.
I'm glad you pointed out we didn't want people to think that Astros fans were so tough on Lucas Harrell. They'd boo him after giving up a ground ball single. But there are a lot of Rangers fans here today.
Well, the ballparks are separated by 256 miles. Minute Maid Park and the ballpark in Arlington. Texas Rangers have dominated the series in recent years. Mike Napoli with 2 outs and Cruz on at first. Napoli sends this one into right field for a base hit. Cruz, big turnaround second, and he gets back in safely. So back-to-back singles for Cruz and Napoli. Rangers now have 2 on with 2 outs, and the pitcher Holland coming up.
Now here's Cruz. He really should pick up his third base coach a little earlier. I mean, when you pick up a third base coach right when you're on top of the bag, it's actually very easy to miss the bag. And you saw him stumble, just try to time his feet to make sure he caught the bag. But he's got to pick up the third base coach much earlier before he gets in the vicinity of second base.
So Tom, an opportunity for Derek Holland. You see his numbers, 0 for 5 in his career with 2 strikeouts.
Looking for his first hit since high school. It really is sort of unfair when you talk about interleague play, when these pitchers, especially these American League pitchers, do not hit in the minor leagues. So you're talking about 6 plate appearances over a 6 or 7 year period. And, oh, by the way, go get a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Holland gets the bat on it. The toss by Harrell. Lee steps on the bag. Rangers strand 2 in the second. Play is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Bottom of the second inning in Houston on baseball night in America. Carlos Lee, Jed Lowry, and Matt Downs, middle of the order for the Astros. Derek Holland retired Houston in order on 10 pitches in the first inning. Lee takes strike 1. He was 0 for 4 last night. Of course, Carlos spent the latter portion of the 2006 season with the Texas Rangers. Batting .295 this season, 3 home runs, 18 runs batted in. And Lee sends this one into left field. The catch is made by Murphy for out number 1. Well, today is Armed Forces Day, and we'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching tonight's broadcast in 175 countries on the Armed American Forces Network. Thanks for all that you do, and we hope you are enjoying tonight's telecast from Houston. So with 1 away, here's Jed Lowry. Tommy talked about Lowry in our open, the middle infielders, Lowry and Altuve. Lowry coming over after spending the last 4 seasons in Boston.
Well, as you know, with the Mark Teixeira trade for the Texas Rangers, when you're in a rebuilding phase, trades can really shorten how long it takes to be competitive. And it's certainly a trade where you trade Mark Melancon, a guy who's a setup reliever, for an everyday shortstop in Jed Lowry. Those are the kind of trades you need to hit on. It's not just about player development. That's certainly the foundation to a turnaround. But when you can make those kind of trades and win those trades, those are the things can shorten rebuilding processes.
Astros lost a franchise record 106 games a year ago. Of course, next season they will be moving over to the American League West.
That's right. The next time they play the Texas Rangers at home next year, we will have the DH for both sides.
That's right.
It'll be under American League rules, and that will be an adjustment in itself for the Houston Astros. Not to say they'll draft players any differently, but certainly when it comes to acquiring players, you can take chances on guys who are poor defenders just on the ability of the bat.
The battle for the silver boot. Rangers have won the season series each of the last 5 years. Rangers have won 9 of the last 10 games they have played in this ballpark. Holland missing away, full count.
And one thing that caught my eye before this inning started was Michael Young at first base catching balls from the left side of the infield. Now normally you play in a dome, which is where we are with the retractable roof closed. Sun is not an issue, but it is an issue here at this hour as it comes in through the left field panels. And Michael Young really had to shade his eyes when the throws were coming from the left side of the infield, most especially third base. And you see that glare right there. In about another 15 or 20 minutes, I think it will be okay. But right now, he's rooting for a pop-up or a strikeout.
Instead, it's up the middle. And it gets past Andrews into center field for a base hit. Astros have their first base runner of the night.
Well, it's difficult to get a ball through this infield. Elvis Andrews was really shaded a little more towards the hole for Lowry, who tends to pull from the left side. And you hear Michael Young getting that glove up in front of his face. Might have to go get the sunglasses.
So Jed Lowry on at first as Matt Downs steps in. Downs batting just 188 in 23 games, making his 9th start tonight. A pinch hitter extraordinaire. Last season, when he led all of baseball with 15 RBIs as a pinch hitter. 1 out, bottom of the 2nd inning in Houston. As Downs lifts this one into right field, into the glove of Cruz for out number 2. More Cruz chants from the Texas Ranger fans who have made the trip to Houston. They mentioned guys batting up and down the order. Martinez hit 3rd last night, but moved down to the number 7 spot tonight by his manager, Brad Mills.
And this is the key guy for me in the Houston lineup, Kenny. I mean, he's hit all through the minor leagues, hit last year when he came up, hit at the beginning of this year. What's happened now is that he's hit a just awful slide here where 4 hits in his last 48 at bats, no extra base hits. And he's going through typically what a lot of second-year players go through. We know it's a game of adjustments, and right now he has to make those adjustments. He really is a little too anxious, talking to hitting coach Mike Barnett, chasing pitches out of the strike zone, getting himself out, and in that case, letting a good pitch go by. That's the definition of a slump, when you take the strikes and you swing at the balls.
Martinez went through an 0 for 26 slump, which ended on Tuesday. He does lead the Astros in runs batted in with 21, but most of them came early in the season.
You know, at one point he was scuffling so bad, Brad Mills gave him 3 days off, put him back in the lineup, struggled again through 3 or 4 at bats, and he gave him another day off. And he thought he was out of the funk, but last night he said he just didn't like the quality of at bats and figured, let me drop him down and take some pressure off. Mike Barnett there. His plan, the Astros plan against Derek Holland, is pretty simple. Go hunt fastballs. We talked about his fastball that Derek Holland has. He's aggressive with it. You have to bring the same approach to the offensive side.
Martinez fouls it back. Now 2-2. A 1-out single up the middle off the bat of Lowry. He's the runner on first with 2 outs. Bottom of the 2nd inning, no score. Fastball missing high and tight. And the count is full. Payoff pitch from Holland. He has his second strikeout. So Lowry stranded. No score through 2. Josh Hamilton due up third in the third for the Texas Rangers. America is presented by Chevrolet. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, no scores. We head to the third, top of the order for the Rangers, who have had 3 base runners over the first 2 innings on 2 singles and a walk. Ian Kinsler will lead off. He struck out back in the first. 37 pitches thrown by Lucas Harrell over the first 2 innings. And number 38 on the night is a strike to Kinsler, 0-1. Tom, you wrote about the Rangers on SI.com earlier this week. You referred to them as a historic club and perhaps the best team since the '98 New York Yankees.
Well, one thing that stands out for me is their run differential. They are outscoring opponents by 2 runs per game. That's a historic number. Not even the '98 Yankees had that kind of differential. And you could say it's early, but now we have a quarter of the season sample to go by. Another amazing thing about the Rangers is that they're using the same roster they had on opening day. They've not had to make any changes at all. So things are breaking right for them. There is a long season still to be played, but the early signs, Kenny, is this team is a juggernaut that I believe is the team to beat in the league.
And they are the only team in all of baseball that has not made a roster move since opening day. 2-2 to Kinsler, fouls it off. 40 games, run differential, plus 80. As you said, 2 per game. Easy math.
Even I can do that math. You know, we talked about the Ranger fans here in the ballpark, but it's more than just a Texas thing. They really have become a national team. I mean, last night they had a press conference for Josh Hamilton, followed by a press conference for Nolan Ryan. Today, Yu Darvish had his press conference. He speaks 2 days before he pitches. I think the Bat Boy is scheduled for tomorrow. It's just a team with a lot of personality, star players. Certainly their postseason experience and exposure the last 2 years comes into play as well.
Will you be there tomorrow for the Bat Boys press conference?
I'm going to miss that one. I'm relying on you to give me the cliff notes on that one.
And we will chat with Nolan Ryan later on during the telecast, the president and CEO of the Rangers. It is Nolan Ryan bobblehead day here in the ballpark. Once again, Kinsler went around. Ryan Runge rung him up in the first inning, does it again here in the third.
Wow, and obviously Kinsler's having a tough time following that sinker twice here on check swings. This one was a little farther than the first one. There is no rule book definition on what constitutes a swing, but the umpires I've talked to, they have a rule of thumb that if that barrel of the bat crosses the foul line, and generally they are standing on the foul line themselves, so they're looking right down the line. If they see the barrel cross the angle of the foul line, they will ring you up, and that's the case right there.
Elvis Andrus grounded out to the third baseman Downs his first time up.
And we talked about keeping these 2 guys off base, the table setters. Kinsler and Andrus, so far so good. These guys have reached base in those first 40 games. Out of the 1 and 2 spots, the Rangers have 142 runners on base in 40 games. And that's why we talked about facing Josh Hamilton with nobody on base. That's a lot easier. Not easy, but easier than when there's no room for error.
Andrus takes strike 1 on the 3-0 pitch from Harrell. Hamilton on deck. 1 out, top of the third inning. As Andrus draws a walk. Second walk issued by Lucas Harrell tonight. And now Josh Hamilton will come to the plate with a man on base.
Well, where do you pitch to Josh Hamilton? You know, we talked about his aggressive nature as a hitter. It's one reason why he's such a nightmare for a pitcher. There's really no place you can go. He covers the plate so well. Now you see the spray chart here, pitches that he's hit out of the park. Most of them you would see pitchers trying to stay away from him. Few pitchers do want to challenge him inside.
Andrus goes, and Hamilton rounds out to the second baseman, Altuve. So with 2 away and a runner on second, here is Adrian Beltre, who popped out to second baseman Altuve, his first time up. Rangers at 25-15. They've won 14 of 20 on the road. It's the best road start in franchise history.
They've actually had a tough schedule. You know, they put up a very good record, but played very few games early on. Had a couple of extremely long road trips, 110-gamer. They had some double headers, some extra inning games. They've weathered this very well.
And Ron Washington gave many of his key players days off during their last homestand.
The home fans weren't too happy about that. They wanted Ron to consult with them before he made out the lineup. You know, I understand if you're a Rangers fan, you go out to the ballpark, as happened on Thursday, and Josh Hamilton is not in the lineup, you're going to be disappointed. But Ron Washington's job is to keep his team healthy, rested, and ready, and he got all of his big guys days off.
He said they never complain, but I know when they need days off, and I want to take care of my guys.
And with Hamilton especially, you know, with the problems he's had in day games with eyesight, not seeing the ball well, when you're going to get Josh a day off, it is going to be a day game. You just can't take any day on the schedule. So when you have an opportunity to rest him in a day game, you're going to do it, whether it's home or road.
Now 2-2 on Beltre. Andrews, the runner on second. 2 outs, top of the third inning here in Houston. With a base hit into left field. Rounding third is Andrews. Here is the throw. It is to the plate and safe. Elvis Andrews slides in with the game's first run. RBI number 26 on the season for Adrian Beltre. Rangers lead 1-0.
JD Martinez does a nice job getting to this ball quickly and making a good throw, but with 2 outs, the secondary lead for Elvis Andrews. The jump on the ball, just too good to catch a runner who is one of the best runners in the league. Astros did everything right there, and it's actually not a given to score from second base here on a hit to left field. Sort of like Fenway Park, the left fielder is going to be a little closer to the plate. And you will see some guys thrown out at the plate with 2 outs on base hits to left field. But Andrews, just being one of the premier base runners in the game, was not going to be caught.
Also similar to Fenway Park, the Sitco sign. Out in left field here in Houston. Michael Young, ground ball to the shortstop Lowry. And he is beaten to the bag by Beltre. So on the error, the Rangers keep this inning alive with runners on first and second.
And that's Texas Rangers baseball. I guarantee you Ron Washington is thrilled to see Beltre, a guy who's really been bothered by a hamstring recently, seeing an opportunity here to hustle to get to second base. And he did beat this play. You know, that's just a miscalculation on Lowry's part. You know, he did go after it with one hand. Not a big deal for a guy like that, but he actually did have time to flip the ball to Altuve if he wanted. Thought he was going to beat Beltre there, and just the clock in his head was a little off and gave that opening to Beltre.
4th error committed by Lowry this season. An opportunity for David Murphy with 2 men on and 2 out. Now back to the screen. Murphy struck out his first time up. Houston native. Attended Baylor University. Nothing in 2 on Murphy.
You see that pitch count right there. As I mentioned at the top, Lucas is not really a guy who's going to give you 7-8 innings. I think Brad Mills would sign up for 6 strong innings. That's been his bugaboo winning the last 3 starts. But he's pushing it with his pitch count this early. Kenny, I don't think it's a case of a guy who's struggling out there on the mound. I think this is what the Rangers can do to you. I think when he's missed just off the plate. He has not been missing by a lot. And it seems like the Rangers lead in every category across the board, certainly clutch hitting. Not a problem for Texas. And I believe a big part of that is they just have a very aggressive mindset at the plate. They don't believe in giving the pitcher strikes.
Murphy sends this one into the gap in right center. A diving attempt by Maxwell. 2 runs will score. Here's Murphy, waved home. Coming around third. Throw to the plate is not in time. And inside the park, home run for David Murphy. It is now 4-0 Texas.
And I'm not sure what happened to Jordan Schaefer on that play, but they're going to call for the trainer to come out there and take a look at him. Maxwell made a terrific effort to try to get to this ball. You see Schaefer there trying to avoid him. It looks like he just got clipped.
David Murphy with the inside the park home run, his 4th home run of the season. The last Rangers inside the park home run, Craig Gentry last September against Seattle. As manager Brad Mills is out in deep center field, checking on his center fielder Jordan Schaefer. So the Texas Rangers with 4 runs here in the top of the 3rd inning. We'll be back. Back in Houston, 4-0 Rangers, 4 runs here in the top of the 3rd inning. As Nelson Cruz takes a called strike, 0-2. Ryan Bogusevic enters the game in right field. Justin Maxwell moves to center following the injury suffered on the inside the park home run by Astros center fielder Jordan Schaefer. There's Maxwell, who moves from right to center. So, Tom, that error committed by Lowry leads to 3 unearned runs.
Yeah, this is one thing the Astros have been good at this year, is avoiding these kind of a big inning. You know, they had the fewest 3-run innings allowed in baseball. And here it was just a matter of that error just completely opening the floodgates.
Now Cruz strikes out. Inning finally comes to an end. The Rangers score 4, including 3 on the inside the park home run.
I think he emptied the Gatorade cooler there in the dugout.
We mentioned earlier, David Murphy, a Houston native, comes home and it's a 3-run inside the park home run, extending the Ranger streak. in unconventional fashion. They have now homered in 13 consecutive games.
That is unconventional. You're talking about a team that's been around for 40 years. That's only the 23rd inside the park home run in Rangers history.
Chris Snyder leading off for the Astros here at the bottom of the 3rd inning. He'll be followed by Lucas Harrell and then Brian Bogusevic, who replaced the injured Jordan Schaefer.
And this is where Derek Holland just needs to pound the strike zone. Your team just handed you 4 runs. You're at the 8-9 spots in the batting order. This is known in the game as a shutdown inning. Consolidate those runs you put on the board by throwing up a 0.
Payoff pitch to Snyder. He fouls it back. Texas Rangers 4 runs in the top of the 3rd inning. 3 were unearned following the 2-out error committed by the shortstop Lowry, who was beaten to the bag after bobbling a ground ball off the bat of Michael Young. Beltre beat him to the bag. And then Murphy with the inside the park home run. And now Snyder sends this one to deep left field. Looking up is Murphy. It is out of here. A home run for Chris Snyder. His 2nd of the season. And the Astros are on the board. It's now 4-1 Texas.
Well, we talked about being aggressive and throwing challenge fastball to 3-2. Obviously, you know what's coming there. Just got a little bit too much of the plate. Snyder put a very good swing on it.
So the 2 guys who have hit home runs, Tom, in a span of 3 batters, Murphy with the inside the park homer and now Snyder, both born in Houston.
We got a theme going here. Keep the local fans happy, no matter who you're rooting for.
Very appropriate during the Lone Star Series. Lucas Harrell 3 for 14 at the plate this season, 3 for 17 in his career.
Well, again, like Derek Holland, Lucas Harrell came up in an American League organization with the Chicago White Sox. His first 7 years in the minor leagues, he had 1 plate appearance way back in rookie ball. Very difficult for these pitchers all of a sudden to start picking up a bat after not hitting since high school.
How about Chris Snyder? He has 11 hits this season and he's driven in 8 runs.
He's certainly a big guy. Got a hold of that one into the Crawford boxes there in left field, and Lucas Harrell tried to join him right there.
Instead, he'll head back to the dugout. We spoke between innings with Astros skipper Brad Mills, and I asked Brad if his young team has exceeded expectations so far this season.
Well, I don't know. We had awful high expectations of ourselves. I think coming into camp, we wanted to kind of develop and just show everybody that the ability that these guys did have. And, you know, going through spring training, they seemed to really grab a hold of what we were trying to do and really did a heck of a job.
Brad, what was your view on what happened on Murphy's ball? And do you have an early word on Jordan Schaefer?
Well, it's the inside of the ankle. He twisted it, got caught underneath, I think, when he and Maxey got kind of tangled up. But they're going to get, the doctor's going to look at it, and hopefully we're all right.
Okay, Brad, thanks. Best of luck.
Thank you.
So Jordan Schaefer rolling his ankle. As we take one more look, the dive by Maxwell, and then Schaefer forced to hurdle over his teammate.
Jordan just didn't have time to get behind Jordan Maxwell on the dive, partly because he was shading Murphy towards the left center field gap, had a long way to run for the ball, and the angle just didn't leave him behind Maxwell as Maxwell dove for it. Just an imperfect scenario there that worked out just awful for the Astros, and hopefully Schaefer will be okay.
Ground ball to the right side. Kinsler the first to retire Bogusevic, batting for the first time after replacing Jordan Schaefer. Now 2 away. Brad Mills now in his 3rd season as Astros manager, and he has really enjoyed watching Jose Altuve this season.
Well, everybody has. He's just a fun player to watch. I don't think I'd ever say this, but he's a smaller version of Dustin Pedroia, if there is such a thing. Here it is, 5'5". I say that not just only because of the height, but you're talking about premier hand-eye coordination. Altuve just has a knack for putting the bat on the ball and hitting it hard.
And Brad Mills knows Dustin Pedroia very well. Mills, of course, spent 6 seasons as Terry Francona's bench coach with the Boston Red Sox.
Now, he did point out the difference in personality, that Pedroia is a fiery type of player. Altuve really doesn't have that kind of personality, but he's got that kind of a game.
Elvis Andrews fires across. Astros are retired, but they score a run on the Chris Snyder solo home run. 3 innings in the books here in Houston. 4-1 Rangers. Proud to support youth baseball in cities and towns across the country. And by Olympic Maximum Stain and Sealant in 1. 4th inning here in Houston from Minute Maid Park. Rangers lead the Astros 4-1 as Mike Napoli leads off and takes strike 1 from Lucas Harrell, who allowed 4 runs, only 1 earned in the 3rd inning. Napoli falls behind 0-2 with the pitcher Derek Holland waiting on deck. Napoli went around. Busy first 3+ innings for the first base umpire Brian Runke as Napoli strikes out. Well, next Sunday, NASCAR on Fox will be in Charlotte as defending champion Kevin Harvick and points leader Greg Biffle lead the world's best drivers in the chase for the checkered flag. Fox Sports proud to bring you exclusive coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing with the Coca-Cola 600 live from Charlotte Motor Speedway next Sunday, 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. Derek Holland bounce back to the pitcher Harrell, his first time up.
I talked to Derek about his batting stroke. Believe it or not, he's a switch hitter. At least he was back in high school. He still claims to be a switch hitter. I said, how could you work on swings from both sides of the plate when you average 1 plate appearance a year for the last 7 years? Well, he took great pride in his bunting ability. Let's put it that way.
He was swinging away in the 2nd inning because he came up with 2 outs and 2 on. He's granted both base runners.
I'd be careful if I were Ian Kinsler over there on deck. He's hitting that ball out of the glove right now. He's in harm's way.
1-2 from Harrell, and Holland down on strikes for out number 2. 6th strikeout for Lucas Harrell.
Yeah, and it's really unusual to see 6 strikeouts, all of them swinging. 3 of those on really check swings called by the first base umpire. And again, we're talking about a guy, we said at the top, who pitches to contact. Lowest 9-inning strikeout rate in the National League other than Kevin Correa of Pittsburgh. And here he is working in his 4th inning with 6 punch-outs.
Including 2 to Ian Kinsler, who steps in with 2 outs and nobody on and takes strike 1.
The one thing Brad Mills talked about is when he has the downward tilt on the slider to go with the sinker, that's when he's most effective. Sometimes he gets around that ball and the slider can look like a cutter where it just doesn't have downward movement. But tonight it looks like he's complementing that sinker with a slider that has good tilt on it.
And Tom, and Lucas Harrell's 14th start, he has already set a new career high for strikeouts in 1 game. Struck out 5 Tigers back in September of 2010 while pitching for the White Sox.
Well, you can see why he has such good stuff. I mean, it's a very strange stat. He actually leads the major leagues in broken bats coming into the game. And when I asked the manager, Brad Mills, about that, he said, well, I think a lot of people aren't familiar with him, and it's the late movement. And I think in this case, he's not just breaking bats, he's missing them.
Leads the league in broken bats and 5th in ground ball ratio. 2-2 to Kinsler.
And again, we talked about the Astros being a land of opportunity, and certainly for Lucas Harrell to have a place now where he knows he's pitching every 5th day. And, you know, he's got Chris Snyder behind the plate to work with, the confidence in his manager. This is what the Astros are about this season.
He has struck out 3 consecutive Rangers since the Murphy inside the park home run. Rangers lead 4-1, 2 outs, top of the 4th inning in Houston. Pitch number 83 from Harrell is fouled back to the screen by Kinsler. Count remains 2-2. Second baseman Altuve. So Harrell retires the Rangers in order in the 4th. When we come back, we will chat with one of the all-time greats, Nolan Ryan. The Astros in 1980 spent 9 years in Houston and then joined the Texas Rangers in 1989. He threw 2 more no-hitters. Also won his 300th game, notched his 5,000th career strikeout. It is Nolan Ryan bobblehead night here in Houston in recognition of his 5th no-hitter. And he is a man who certainly needs no introduction. He threw out the first pitch last night. Now the president and CEO of the Texas Rangers. Nolan, thanks so much for joining us. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci here in the broadcast booth. And the first question we have is, did you get one of the bobbleheads?
Yeah, they brought me a box of them over to the hotel room today.
Well, you have a statue and now you have a bobblehead. Well, Nolan, I wanted to ask you about baseball in Texas and this rivalry, the Silver Boot Series. How does it change beginning next year when the Astros join the Rangers in the American League West?
Well, you know, it'll take a while for everyone to get just adjusted to the thought that they're in the American League and they're in the Western Division. And, you know, I grew up an Astro fan, and so for me, it's I just think of them as a National League ball club, so it's going to take a while.
Nolan, your club has reached the World Series, of course, the last 2 Octobers, off to a terrific start here in 2012. Your thoughts so far on Yu Darvish, 6-1, 5th in the league in earned run average, coming over as a rookie?
Well, we're very pleased with the way he's thrown, the way he's gone about his work, and the adjustments that he's made coming into playing in the U.S. And there was a lot of changes that he had to deal with, and obviously the baseball's one of them, not knowing the hitters, teammates. So we've been very pleased with the way that he's made the adjustments.
And Nolan, another superstar on your team, Josh Hamilton, got a lot of attention yesterday at your press conference concerning his future with Texas. You mentioned that you probably expect this to go to November or December. Any possibility that the club would want to open talks themselves during the season?
Well, our general manager, John Daniels, has stayed in contact with Josh's agent, and so we have open lines of communication. Whether something develops and we are in a position to get something done or not, you know, only time will tell. And so it's really hard to make any kind of prediction on that.
Leadoff man on for the Astros here in the 4th as Justin Maxwell drew a leadoff walk. Carlos Lee at the plate, fly to left. His first time up. As we continue to chat with Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan, the president and CEO of the Texas Rangers. And Nolan, Tom and I had a chance to visit with Astros manager Brad Mills before the game, and it's been well publicized, especially since Brad became the manager here in Houston. He was strikeout victim number 3509 back in 1983 when you broke Walter Johnson's
strikeout record. What do you remember about that moment?
Well, I remember it was a curveball away from him, and he took it for call strike 3, and I don't think he really thought it was a strike, and it just happened to be that he happened to be the guy in the box that day. So, you know, I didn't face Brad a lot because he was a role player, and because of it, he just happened to be at the wrong place that forgiven day.
Well, we're rolling a video of that pitch, a breaking ball on the outside corner, as you mentioned, outside. Brad told us the story that he actually joined the Astros 2 years later, saw you in spring training, and before you even said hello, you said that ball was outside.
Well, you know, I was surprised I got the call, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
And he mentioned that he was sure that you were going to throw that famous Nolan Ryan Express heater for the record strikeout, and you throw him a breaking ball.
Well, you know, you never know.
Carlos Lee crushes this one. A 2-run home run. His 4th of the season, and the Astros hope for another one. So Carlos Lee with a 2-run shot as we continue to chat with Nolan Ryan. One more look. It's now a 4-3 Rangers lead.
And Nolan, I'd like you to speak about this when the pitcher is handed a 4-0 lead, and you want to be aggressive with a lead, but in this case, 2 home runs off fastballs over the middle of the plate.
Yeah, you know, Derek has a tendency when he gets his fastball up and leave it out over the plate. Right-handers have pretty good swing at it, and that's what happened there with Carlos. And Carlos has been swinging the bat good. Last night he hit the ball hard and didn't have anything to show for it. First time up today he did, and so I was a little concerned about him in that situation.
I know, and your pitching coach, Mike Maddox, has done a terrific job the last couple of seasons. Do any of the pitchers ever come to you for advice? Do you work with them at all?
Well, you know what I do is I get to know our pitchers and like for them to be comfortable around me and feel like that they can talk to me, but I really try not to get involved in the pitching because that's really Mike's responsibility, and I feel like that if the pitchers can choose or pick who they go and talk to, I think it's not a good arrangement. And so sometimes I might be sitting on the bench prior to the game or something. One of them may come by and ask me what I thought about this or that, but pretty much just give them my opinion and leave the real true coaching to Mike.
Well, Nolan, one of the pitchers in baseball today getting a lot of attention, Justin Verlander, who back when you were pitching gets that kind of attention every time he goes out. There seems to be the possibility of the no-hitter. Last night came within 2 outs of no-hitter number 3. One of the remarkable things in your career is not just the 7 no-hitters, but the 12 one-hitters that you had. Did you ever walk away from a one-hitter disappointed?
Well, you're disappointed maybe that you got so close. I think of the 12 one-hitters I have, I think I lost 6 of them in the 8th or 9th inning. And so, you know, what you learn is until you get the 27th out, you really hadn't accomplished anything. And so, you know, I tried to just stay focused on what I had to do to be successful and hope that it worked out, but you never know.
Jed Lowry pops out to the first baseman, Michael Young, in foul territory for out number 1.
And just to follow up on that, I have to believe that Verlander is someone you admire because of his old school mentality. Pitch counts don't seem to matter to him. He's got that classic combination of fastball, breaking ball. What's your opinion on what Justin Verlander is doing in today's game?
Well, he's at the top of his game over the last couple of years, and he really has good command of not only his fastball but his curveball. He knows how to pitch. And the unique thing about him is in the later innings he can throw as hard or harder than he does early in the game. And I think that makes a big difference. I think we saw it last night in the game that he was throwing.
And Verlander with 2 career no-hitters. Only 5 men in the history of baseball have thrown at least 3. Nolan Ryan, of course, leading the way with 7. Sandy Koufax 4. Cy Young, Bob Feller, and Larry Corcoran 3 apiece. Matt Downs at the plate, trying to right his first time up. With the Rangers leading the Astros 4-3. Bottom of the 4th inning here in Houston. And Nolan, 3 home runs so far in this game. And we've talked a lot about pitching with you, but take us back to your first game as a member of the Astros back in 1980 when you took fellow Hall of Famer Don Sutton deep.
Well, you know, I tell people that I hit half my home runs off Hall of Famers. But I think I was as surprised as Don when that ball went out.
Well, we're taking a look at it right now. Back on April 12th, 1980. Dodgers won the game 6-5 in 17 innings, but that one must have felt good off the bat, huh?
Well, you know, it's interesting is I had one spot that I could hit the ball, and he just happened to throw it in that area.
Well, what I liked about it, Nolan, is you wore those rainbow uniforms, which you have on your bobblehead appropriately enough today. Did you guys like wearing those uniforms back then?
You know, somebody asked me earlier about that uniform, and I told them the first time I put it on, I felt like a clown. And, you know, later in my career, I thought I looked pretty good in it.
Well, how much have you enjoyed your role as president and CEO of the Rangers?
Well, I've really enjoyed it. It's a new challenge, and I've learned a lot, and it gives you a completely different perspective from this side of the game.
Now 2-1 on J.D. Martinez, struck out his first time up. Rangers scored 4 runs in the 3rd, 3 coming on the David Murphy inside the park home run. And the Astros have come back. A solo homer off the bat of Chris Snyder, 2-run shot for Carlos Lee. And now 2-2 on J.D. Martinez.
Now, in some ways, Nolan, the Houston Astros are trying to copy the Rangers' blueprint in a rebuilding phase. In your opinion, where do you see the Astros? How far off do you think they are?
Well, you know, the way I look at their ball club, it depends on their young pitching and what type of arms they have in their system. And I think they've done a better job the last couple of years in their signing of amateur drafts, and the amateur draft and the international signings. So I think they'll be probably making a better presentation on the field, but I think it's going to come down to their starting pitching when they feel like they have enough starting pitching where they can be competitive.
And of course, as we mentioned earlier in the half inning, they will be moving to the American League West next season, so you and the Rangers will be seeing a lot more of the Houston Astros.
Well, I really believe it'll be good for baseball in the state of Texas when they are competing for the division title, and hopefully we'll be competing with them, and I think it'll create a good rivalry within the state and stimulate a lot of interest in baseball.
Well, Nolan, we want to thank you very much for joining us during this half inning. Best of luck throughout the remainder of this 2012 season.
Okay, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Nolan Ryan, the president and CEO of the Texas Rangers, who had to sit through that Carlos Lee home run, which pulled the Astros to within a run.
Yeah, he had to be concerned. Obviously, Mike Maddox went back out to the mound after Holland then fell behind 2-0. But boy, what a pleasure to talk to Nolan Ryan, especially about pitching. It's great for the game of baseball when you have someone of that stature who stays in the game in a very, very active role. His fingerprints are all over this Rangers organization.
And who can forget the shots of Nolan in the stands during the World Series? So many of the ups and downs the Rangers went through during that series with the St. Louis Cardinals last October.
He's fun to watch watching baseball, isn't he?
He is.
I love the fact that he loves sitting out in the stands watching games. But I think he's a little bit nervous right now about the way Mr. Holland looks on the mound in this inning. Seems to have gotten away from him here.
He's walked 2 in the inning, allowed the home run to Lee. 32nd pitch of this inning. Now 2-2 on Snyder, who took Holland deep in the 3rd.
Well, that's one thing we haven't seen a lot of there. In a fastball count, he did go to the breaking ball to the right-handed hitter.
Holland had allowed only 3 home runs over his first 7 starts this year. 2 so far tonight. Martinez back in at first. Rangers lead the Astros 4-3, 2 outs, bottom of the 4th inning. 2-2 the count on Chris Snyder.
You see him there double up with the breaking ball. And we talked about score 4-0. You throw challenge fastballs. Well, a couple of those wound up in the seats. Now, especially after the walks, time to be careful. And here with 3-2, 2 outs, Martinez will be able to score on a base hit if Snyder puts one into the gap.
Payoff pitch from Holland, and Snyder is down on strikes. 5th strikeout for Derek Holland. Nolan Ryan threw out the first pitch prior to the game last night. And then it's bobblehead day tonight. Leads off for the Texas Rangers here in the top of the 5th inning against Lucas Harrell. It's now a 4-3 game. Andrews grounded out to third in the 1st inning, walked, came around to score in the 3rd.
And watch the corner infielders now, the way they have to respect the bunt possibility of Andrews leading off here. See both Lee and Downs choked in, giving up a lot of range. For a guy who hits a lot of ground balls, it opens up the field.
And there's Downs, the third baseman. Nice play to retire Andrews. Time now for a direct TV game break. Matt Feskersian, what's going on with the Red Sox and the Phillies?
Kenny, a wild one. David Ortiz starting anywhere but DH for the first time all year as Boston's first baseman tonight. 2-run shot. Boston's 4th against Joe Blanton, and the Red Sox are starting to run away in the middle innings. Back to you guys in the Space City.
All right, thanks, Matt. Tom, who would have thought that both teams would be in last place on May 19th?
You know, it's unbelievable. After a year last year with the top 9 payrolls in baseball, did not win a postseason series. Sort of picked up where he left off last year in terms of some of the struggles for Boston, Philadelphia, and New York.
3rd plate appearance for Josh Hamilton tonight. Walked in the 1st, rounded out to 2nd in the 3rd inning. One and 2.
Now, listen, a lot of teams are going to shift on Josh Hamilton. He really is mostly a pull hitter. But you watch the second baseman, Altuve. It's not the usual shift where you'll see the second baseman drop back into short right field. That's because you have to respect the speed of Josh Hamilton. If you tried to play defense the way teams defend Mark Teixeira or David Ortiz, he can hit a ground ball to the right side and easily beat it to first base. So while it may look like Altuve and Carlos Lee can pretty much shake hands and have a conversation while he's at bat here, they need to shorten up. You can't yield too much ground to Hamilton's speed.
Hamilton sends this one into left center. And the catch is made by the left fielder Martinez for out number 2. Hamilton now 0 for 2.
Here's the swing again from Josh Hamilton. Actually a nice pitch by Harrell to get inside enough. That one not quite on the barrel, but boy, watching that swing, boy, if you're a fan of ballet, you probably appreciate that swing. There's a certain rhythm, a certain beauty to that swing of Josh Hamilton. I think it's the most pure swing in baseball. And I say that knowing that he swings and misses very often. Usually you'll not hear that said about a great hitter, that he swings and misses a lot. But Josh Hamilton does swing and miss a lot. Part of that is because of his aggressive nature, where he will go outside of the zone. But boy, the balance, the head on the baseball, and especially the extension that he generates is just picture perfect.
1 and 2 now on Beltre, who drove in the Rangers' first run in the 3rd inning, extending his hitting streak to 10 games. Two from Harrell. since the Murphy inside the park home run, Harrell has retired 6 in a row.
Yeah, you know, he came off the mound that inning really upset with himself. It could have been the walk to Andrews that sort of set that inning up. But you can see him use that in a positive way and lock down.
Second hit of the game for Beltre. A 2-out single to center. Here's Michael Young, 0 for 2 today. Got a key at bat back in the 3rd inning on a ground ball to the shortstop Lowry, which would have ended the inning. The error committed by Lowry, and that set up the inside the park home run. Lowry handles this one with the flip to Altuve, and the inning is over. Middle of the 5th in Houston, 4-3 Rangers. Go further. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci back in Houston on Baseball Night in America. It's the Lone Star Series interleague play. Rangers and Astros. Texas leading 4-3, bottom of the 5th inning, and Lucas Harrell, Tom, will bat for himself.
Well, he earned this at bat by the way he pitched after the home run by Murphy, but especially the last inning where he really did look in command of the game. And remember, too, that Brad Mills, the manager of the Astros, is down one piece on his bench because he had to get Brian Bogusevic into the game when Jordan Schaefer went out with an injury. So he's left with 4 pieces on the bench. One is his backup catcher, so he doesn't want to go start emptying that bench too quickly here in the 5th inning. So he's willing to yield this first out, assuming Harrell is out, to get 3 more outs out of Harrell next inning, because I'm not sure he expects Harrell to go more than 1 more inning.
Fastball missing high, 1-2. Harrell struck out his first time up. He's now 3 for 15 this season. Astros have scored all 3 of their runs on home runs. A solo shot off the bat of Chris Snyder leading off the 3rd. And then Carlos Lee with a 2-run home run in the 4th. As Holland fires down to first to retire Harrell for out number 1.
Now let's go back to the home run, the inside the park home run. Actually, that inning was set up by this error from Jed Lowry. Should have been the end of the inning, the 3rd out. And then Murphy drops one between Maxwell and Schaefer. Clears all the bases. It was interesting watching Harrell coming off the mound. Really upset. I think he was upset about the walk to Andrews as part of the inning. Certainly not because the play wasn't made in the outfield. But it was interesting, Kenny, to see him turn that sort of frustration, anger, whatever you want to call it, into a positive, and really goes out there and then retires 7 of the next 8 batters. It really looked like he was in command of the game.
With 1 away, here's Bogusevic, who grounded to second his first time up after replacing Schaefer, who left with the ankle injury.
And you know, that decision we talked about with Mills, whether to take the starting pitcher out and start emptying the bench in the 5th inning. Well, you know what? Next year it gets easier for him.
That's right.
American League Baseball, you leave your pitcher in there, you don't have to worry about those kind of decisions.
We talked to Ron Washington about his first interleague game of the season last night. He said the game certainly moves quickly. Everybody stays involved. It puts pressure on the coaches.
It does. I like what he said. It keeps everybody involved in the game. If you're a bench player, you have to keep yourself ready at all times. Bench players can collect a lot of dust in American League games, but in the National League, as we saw with Bogusevic coming in the game because of an injury, but especially this situation, potential pinch hitting situation, there's guys back in the cage getting their swings, getting ready. Not sure when they'll be needed, but being ready for any spot.
Bogusevic down on strikes. 6th strikeout for Derek Holland. And we check out the Toyota in-game box score for the Houston Astros. Lee and Snyder with the home runs. Astros with 3 runs on only 3 base hits.
Yeah, I like what Nolan Ryan said about those home runs, too, that Holland does have a tendency to have that fastball run over the plate. We talked about it at the top. He's a power pitcher. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts normally, but does attack with the fastball. And those 2 pitches he got hurt on by just getting too much of the plate.
Jose Altuve 0 for 2 tonight. Fly to right, grounded out to short.
Rare first pitch swinging right there by the Astros tonight.
First time all night. They had set 19 men to the plate, and none of them swung at the first pitch prior to Altuve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was an intentional strategy by the Astros. Just, young team, seeing Derek Holland, most of them for the first time. But, there is a tendency for a lot of teams, as I said, to give away strikes.
There's a base hit into right field off the bat of Altuve.
And the Rangers subscribe to a totally different theory where they concede nothing and are extremely aggressive.
A 2-out base runner for the Astros as Justin Maxwell steps to the plate. Walked and scored his last time up.
Altuve is such a great story. I mean, we talked about it. He started last year in A-ball in Lancaster, California, and all he did was hit over 400 out there, worked his way up, found himself playing for the Astros by the end of the season. And then he went to go play winter ball, where he just hit up a storm in winter ball. By the end of the year, he had come to the plate 898 times.
Wow. Gets away from Young. Altuve to second.
This one we cannot blame on the sun. That is not a factor here. The throw a little bit into the runner there.
Error charge to the pitcher, Holland.
Those are the things that can drive a manager nuts. It's really just a courtesy throw over there to keep the runner close with 2 outs, but instead you move him up 90 feet and put him into scoring position with 2 outs.
Aside from the 2 home runs, this is the first time that the Astros have had a runner on second base.
And it's been interesting to see Holland now as the game has gotten closer. I think he's featured that curveball more to right-handers than we saw earlier in the game, or certainly with the lead.
Maxwell, deep center field. And Justin Maxwell with the Astros' 3rd home run of the game. Houston leads 5-4.
Well, you don't think of the Astros as a home run hitting team, but they are tonight. And all very similar pitches. Fastballs up and over the heart of the plate. The type of pitches as a pitcher, when you throw the ball, you know there's trouble ahead.
Second of the season for Maxwell, who was claimed on waivers back on April 8th from the Yankees. University of Maryland product. He spent 3 seasons with the Washington Nationals. So the Astros spotted the Rangers a 4-0 lead. And Houston has scored 5 runs over the last 3 innings. All of the runs coming on home runs as Holland says, look what I found. A shot off the bat of Carlos Lee. Inning comes to an end. Home runs in 3 consecutive innings for the Astros. Snyder in the 3rd. Lee in the 4th. And then Maxwell in the 5th. DirecTV. If you're calling yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. And by Jaguar. See the new model year lineup at your local Jaguar retailer. Lucas Harrell pitching with a lead for the first time tonight. He fell behind 4-0. Stayed in the game. And the Astros now lead it 5-4. David Murphy inside the park home run his last time up. This time bounces back to the pitcher, Harrell, for out number 1. Our Jeep game summary. We just mentioned the inside the park home run, giving Texas a 4-0 lead. Carlos Lee, a 2-run shot in the 4th. And Derek Holland has allowed 3. He gave up 3 home runs all season over his first 7 starts. And for the Astros, Tom, this is a season high, 3 home runs. They had hit 2 home runs in a game 7 times.
They came into this game 13th in the National League in home runs. It's really not their game. Jed Lowry is their leading home run hitter with 5 coming into the game tonight. So this is a new way for the Astros to build a lead.
Holland has allowed 3 over the first 5 innings. 0-2 on Nelson Cruz, who struck out his last time up. Top of the 6th inning in Houston, 5-4 Astros. And you talked about Harrell's at bat in the last half inning. Brad Mills letting him hit. Pitched 1 more inning. And his Astros have taken the lead.
That's the best case scenario for Brad Mills. He really was a shot of confidence in Lucas Harrell, saying, I believe in you. I'm going to let you lead off when we're trailing the Texas Rangers. He's rewarded with the home run by Maxwell. And as we mentioned, his body language has been good all along, but especially now he's working now with a lead and in command.
Nelson Cruz grounds out to Jed Lowry for out number 2. And Harrell has now retired 9 of the last 10.
And as I mentioned, this is probably his last inning. His season high in pitches, 114. You know, this is the inning. His last 3 starts, he did not make it through. But Brad Mills has to look at him right now and say, if I can get him through this inning, take him out of this game on a complete positive, you're talking about a boost of confidence for a young pitcher that is going to last a long time.
The 2 away, here's Mike Napoli. You saw Fernando Abad up and throwing to the Astros pen. Action in the Rangers bullpen as well. Alexei Ogando.
And Ron Washington has to manage his bullpen a little bit different tonight because he does not want to use Joe Nathan to close out the game. He's worked 4 of the last 5 days. He needs to give him, or wants to give him, a day off. Ogando is an option to close the game. Obviously, the Rangers are working from behind right here. So the score changes and the situation changes.
Did you notice anything on that last pitch?
You know, I noticed earlier in this inning where he was falling off a little bit more to first base than he had earlier, but I didn't see anything really major. But certainly there was something that caught the eye of the bench of the Houston Astros. Looks like he's just stretching the lower half there. Maybe the Achilles, something just felt a little tight.
Well, next Saturday on Baseball Night in America, Phillies will take on the Cardinals. Rockies head to Cincinnati. Cubs and Pirates. Rays and Red Sox. Angels and Mariners. Baseball Night in America presented by Chevrolet. Next Saturday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on Fox. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area tonight. The first of 8 consecutive Saturdays of primetime baseball right here on Fox. Harrell missing low and away, now 3-1 on Napoli.
Yeah, this is really his 9th inning. This is the way Lucas Harrell wants to treat this inning. I don't think he thinks he's going any farther than this. The bullpen is getting warm here. He's getting near his pitch limit.
He misses high, ball 4, and now Derek Holland, who had come out into the on-deck circle, is called back. There's Mitch Moreland, who will pinch hit for the pitcher Holland with 2 outs and Napoli on at first.
Well, now Mills has a decision. He's got a pitcher out there who's really starting to get towards that E mark on the gas tank. He's got a guy coming up at Mitch Moreland who's just been lights out against right-handed pitching. And he's got a bullpen where he loves to match up platoon advantages.
So Brad Mills out to the mound with the Astros leading 5-4. And that will be all for Lucas Harrell. He trailed 4-0. He exits with a 1-run lead. Fernando Abad pitched the third of an inning last night out of the Astros pen to face the pinch hitter Mitch Moreland.
And right there is the reason why this move is an obvious one for Brad Mills. Besides the fact that Harrell really was starting to run out of gas, the percentage is just too much in the favor to not make this move.
Harrell threw 109 pitches. The runner on first, Napoli, is his responsibility. Abad out of the Dominican Republic, his 10th year in the Astros organization. Look at the Astros bullpen and the job they've done this season, third in the National League in earned run average. 2-0 on the pinch hitter Moreland. 0 for 8 as a pinch hitter this season. He had 2 home runs in a game against Oakland on Thursday. Two and 1.
As you can see there, he's got good stuff. He's got a variety of stuff. He came up through the Astros system with really good strikeout numbers in the minor leagues. You know, he's a guy who can run his fastball up there in the low 90s, and he'll drop in that 75-mile-an-hour changeup, that big sweeping curveball at 78. So he can have a big differential between the off-speed stuff and his fastball to keep especially left-handers off balance.
Fastball in for strike 2. 2-2 on Moreland.
And that's a great example of there. Really pitching backwards, setting him up with the off-speed stuff, and coming in with a good solid fastball at 93 that really caught a lot of the plate, but Moreland just froze on it.
Moreland down on strikes. Middle of the 6th in Houston. Still 5-4 Astros.
The Orioles and Nationals, Nick Markakis had the game-winning home run in the 11th last night. He's at it again. The Orioles Major League leading 63rd home run of the year. How about Arizona and Kansas City? The Royals entered play tied with Minnesota for the fewest in the AL. Mike Moustakas goes deep. Markakis, Moustakas, Opa, it's good to be Greek. Back to 2 non-Greeks, Kenny and Tom.
Well, thanks very much, Matt. You are correct.
Oh, look at this. I thought something was up today, Kenny, when in our pre-game meeting you started talking about the Astros' ability to kill penalties. I thought maybe your mind was elsewhere.
At least I am still at the Rangers game. Big 3-0 win for the other Rangers, the New York Rangers, in the Eastern Conference Final in New Jersey this afternoon. And now the Texas Rangers got out to a 4-0 lead, but trail Houston 5-4.
You were just hoping for that perfect storyline of another 3-0 Rangers win.
But instead, the Astros with other ideas. As Alexei Ogando, the 28-year-old right-hander, comes on in relief of Derek Holland. Here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
It's not a misprint with those numbers there. 23 strikeouts and 3 walks. Actually opened the year against right-handed hitters throwing the equivalent of a perfect game. A little more. 0 for 28 right-handers started the season against Ogando. And I love the word that Ron Washington used for Ogando. He called him a weapon. Why? Because you can deploy him in so many situations and close a game. You can eat up innings in the middle of the game. It doesn't matter right-handed or left-handed. You put Ogando in the game, he will take care of trouble.
Lowry 1 for 2, singled back in the 2nd inning. So Ogando comes in and strikes out Lowry for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
I mean, that's just unfair. When you throw 97 at the knees with movement, as I said, it doesn't matter right or left-handed. He can take care of hitters on either side of the plate. You know, that's the difference between these two teams, Kenny, is the Rangers have a bullpen. He doesn't Ron Washington doesn't necessarily need to match up righties on righties, lefties on lefties. He only has one lefty in the bullpen, Robbie Ross, and he's really not available today. Doesn't really matter to him. With Brad Mills, he's more likely to match up right on right and left on left. And to me, as a manager, if you have relief pitchers who are platoon neutral, where you don't have to play matchup, that's a huge advantage.
You mentioned Robbie Ross. He earned the win last night. He is now 5-0.
He's in the game at the right time, isn't he? I mean, you talk about a relief pitcher coming into the game with a lead in the 5th inning where the starting pitcher cannot qualify for the win. So that win is sitting there on a room service platter for you. And to his credit, he took advantage of the opportunity.
One and two on Downs. J.D. Martinez waiting on deck. In case you joined us late, Texas Rangers took a 4-0 lead on a David Murphy 3-run inside the park home run in the 3rd. Jordan Schaefer, Astros center fielder, left the game with a sprained right ankle. He is undergoing x-rays. But the Astros have come back with 3 home runs of their own, a season high, accounting for all 5 of the Houston runs. Charging is Beltre, and he throws out Downs for out number 2. Chevrolet is building the next generation of baseball memories. Here's our own Ken Rosenthal to tell you more. We apologize for the audio issue as J.D. Martinez swings at the first pitch. It rolls to the wall in right center. A stand-up double for Martinez. 4th extra base hit of the game for the Astros.
Yeah, Brad Mills has to be happy to see the at-bats he's getting from J.D. Martinez. He talked about when the player's in the slump, and J.D. certainly is a young player, part of that, where you start to fixate on results rather than the quality of the at-bats. What it concerned him about J.D. recently is not so much he wasn't getting hits, but the quality of the at-bats. Now tonight, his first 2 at-bats, he got the full counts both times, the second time getting a walk. And right here against a really tough right-handed pitcher, jumps on the first pitch, hits it hard the other way. 3 good at-bats for J.D. Martinez.
So with Martinez in scoring position and 2 away, here's Chris Snyder. Snyder, a solo home run in the 3rd, struck out in the 4th. Four runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Rangers. 5 runs on 6 hits and 1 error for the Astros. Now the Astros fans come alive with chants of "Let's go Astros." We heard from the Ranger fans earlier in this game.
Now, there is a good vibe in this ballpark. You're talking about a franchise last year lost them 106 games. And this season, they're playing winning baseball at home. And I know part of it this weekend is the Texas Rangers being here and their fans kind of infiltrating Minute Maid Park. But the Astros have played well at home. They've played a lot of close games. I think the fans here are starting to see the rebuilding plan in place.
If the Astros could just eliminate extra inning games, they're 0-5 in extra innings, 17-17, a .500 record in games that have ended in 9 innings.
Maybe they should go to a shootout. What do you think? I know you're in favor of that.
Why not? Only during the regular season.
Oh, okay.
You saw Travis Buck, who has come out into the on-deck circle. The bat for the pitcher, Abad, should Snyder reach. Full count.
Yeah, that's why we talked about, Brad Mills loves to match up with his bullpen. He's got the 2 right-handers leading off next thing, Kinsler and Andrews. You know that Hamilton is always lurking there. You always have to account for his spot in the order, but starting the inning, Brad Mills would like to go to a right-hander.
Payoff pitch from Ogando to Snyder. It's ball 4. Well, the Astros now have 2 on with 2 out for pinch hitter Travis Buck and a visit from pitching coach Mike Maddox. So Chris Snyder down at first base. Chris wearing a microphone for us today. Let's listen back to his home run back in the 3rd inning.
A lot of game left. A lot of game left. Downs row. I wasn't anywhere near the Snyder row, though. Nowhere near Snyder row.
I guess that's the way they measure their home runs, huh? I'll tell you one thing about Chris Snyder. Ever since he hit the home run, he has not seen too many fastballs. They're showing him a lot of respect. Ogando there, I know he's got a base open, but going to the breaking ball there, walking him. He can hit a fastball. I think the Texas Rangers found that out.
And he was right. There was a lot of game left. That home run coming back in the 3rd inning. The Astros have hit 2 more. They now lead 5-4. Travis Buck, 6'4", 11 as a pinch hitter this season, and he drills this one into the right field corner. Martinez scores. Snyder holding at 3rd. It's an RBI double off the bat of pinch hitter Travis Buck. The Astros take a 6-4 lead.
Brad Mills pushing all the right buttons in this game so far. Love the approach by Travis Buck right there. Coming off the bench, you're looking for the first fastball that you see, and it is first pitch, 98 miles an hour, and you just hammer this and jump on this pitch. That's a pitch he's sitting on, gets it on the inside half of the plate. Terrific approach coming off the bench against a very good pitcher.
First pitch to Bogasevic. Swing and a miss, 0-1. Ogando retired the first 2 Astros here in the 6th. He struck out Lowry and then Downs grounded to 3rd. Martinez with a 2-out double. Snyder walked and then Buck drives in a run with the pinch double. And now a line drive caught by Beltre to end the inning. But the Astros add to their lead. Their first run of this game that does not come via a home run, and they now lead 6-4. Baseball Night in America on Fox is presented by Chevrolet. Rangers scored the first 4. Astros have scored the last 6. Top of the order for the Rangers here in the 7th as Ian Kinsler will lead off against the 3rd Houston pitcher of the game, the 28-year-old right-hander Wilton Lopez. 22nd appearance, record of 3-0. How about this, Tom? On Thursday against Milwaukee, Lopez issued his first walk of the season, snapped a run of 78 consecutive hitters he faced to open the season without allowing a walk. Longest streak at the start of a season since John Smoltz back in 2004.
Wow, that is really impressive. That's a manager's dream right there, to have a guy come in and throw strikes. He is an extreme ground ball pitcher with fantastic control.
Smoltz faced 92 batters before issuing his first walk 8 seasons ago.
He was pretty good too.
Okay. 0-2 on Kinsler, who has already struck out twice today. Now 2-2 on Kinsler.
You see that sinker there. That's what you're going to see from Lopez 75% of the time. Great downward action. Loves to keep the ball at the knees and below. Started at the bottom of the strike zone and let it fall out of it.
6-4 Astros, top of the 7th inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count on Kinsler, with Elvis Andrus waiting on deck, then Josh Hamilton. And Kinsler strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. Time now for another DirecTV game break with Matt Vasgersian. We check in on the White Sox and the Cubs. Matt.
Kenny, Adam Dunn, his results are just fun to watch. He walks. He's walked 3 times tonight. He strikes out, a major league leading 60, and he homers his 13th of the year. He's already out-homered his total from the entire season last year. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Guys, back to you in Houston.
All right, thanks, Matt. Elvis Andrus at the plate with 1 out. How about the scene at Wrigley yesterday, Tom, as Kerry Wood struck out the final batter that he faced in his major league career, walked off the field, announced his retirement, hugged his son in front of the dugout, a 14-year career, 2-time All-Star, and his 20 strikeout game against the Astros as a rookie back in '98 in his 5th career start. That one of the most memorable moments.
I'll tell you, Kenny, not only a memorable moment, but one of the greatest games ever pitched. 20 strikeouts. The one hit in the game was close to being an error. It was a game in which the Astros were just completely overmatched. Predominantly right-handed lineup, and Kerry Wood had that slurve, breaking ball, whatever you want to call it, that was unhittable.
Take you back to May 6th, 1998, 5th major league start. Just 20 years of age. Kerry Wood strikes out 20, tying the single game major league record. What a way to end his career yesterday.
It was. I mean, at home especially, obviously, he will be remembered as a Cub. Played for 3 different teams, but primarily with the Cubs. And what a touching scene, too, to have his son there waiting for him at the top step of the dugout. A guy going out on his own terms. It's very rare that you see a player of that kind of stature leave during the season. I remember Mike Schmidt got to a point in May of his last season where he just said, I'm done. And Kerry Wood reached that point, and I think that's what every athlete dreams of, to be able to go out on your own terms.
Also pitched for the Indians and the Yankees briefly. 2-2 to Andrus. On the run, the center fielder Maxwell. He cannot make the catch. It rolls up Towles Hill. Andrus on his way to 3rd. And he is in with a triple. Second 3-base hit of the season for Elvis Andrus.
I thought for a moment there we had the possibility of another inside the park home run, because you mentioned Towles Hill. That certainly can cause an outfielder a lot of problems. You're not anticipating, you know it's there, but you're not anticipating running uphill to get a ball. I've seen many guys stumble, mostly chasing fly balls on that hill. You just never know when the ball gets up on Towles Hill what could happen.
Well, the Astros leading by 2. Andrus the runner on 3rd. Josh Hamilton swings at the first pitch from Lopez and fouls it off to the right side.
You know, that's, again, you see Josh swinging first pitch. That's a pitch out of the zone. He is not going to change his game here.
Right field. Catch is made by Bogus 7. Here comes Andrus. He scores. Sacrifice fly. RBI number 46 for Josh Hamilton. Rangers pull to within a run.
You know, Josh actually got a good pitch there, but in terms of the aggressiveness, Ron Washington says, I let him be who he is. You know, there are situations when we know the other team maybe wants to pitch around him, and we can pass the baton to Adrian Beltre or whoever's hitting behind him. But he said, I can live with those times when Josh goes outside of the zone, because you get so much more upside with the aggressive mindset. Just another one of many reasons why Josh is so difficult to pitch to. He can barrel up just about anything around the strike zone, not necessarily in the strike zone.
0-1 to Beltre. In for a called strike, 0-2. Lopez strikes out Beltre to end the inning. But the Rangers score a run. The Hamilton sacrifice fly. 7th inning stretch time in Houston. Lexus RXF Sport. Baseball Night in America coming to you from Minute Maid Park in Houston. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, and our entire crew. Astros lead the Rangers 6-5. As Jose Altuve leads off against Alexei Ogando. Altuve 1 for 3, single, came around to score in the 5th inning. From Ogando. Now 1-2 on Altuve with Justin Maxwell, who hit a 2-run homer in the 5th, waiting on deck. Altuve down on strikes. Second strikeout for Alexei Ogando. Now the question is Altuve 5'5" or 5'7"? He's been listed at both.
He is a proud 5'5", and in fact, he had been listed throughout all the literature in the Astros system as 5'7" ever since he signed at 16. A couple of years ago, they went up to him and they said, "Are you really 5'7"? He says, "No, I'm 5'5". I don't mind if you put down 5'5". I'm cool with that."
What happened to 5'6"? How did they skip from 5'5" to 5'7"?
I don't know, but I give the guy credit. He obviously has overcome, let's face it, it's a built-in bias in the scouting world in terms of height. Scouts don't like to compromise on height and power. And in this case, he showed up to try out at 16 in Venezuela for the Astros. They took one look at him and they said, "Don't come back tomorrow. You're too small." So what did he do? He came back tomorrow. And that really typifies his attitude. I mean, he just is a guy who goes after it. Will not be denied. I think, listen, the Astros, once they did sign him, they really liked him. As I said, he puts the bat on the ball, but I think he came as quickly as he did on sheer desire. He's got terrific hand-eye coordination, but desire is certainly part of his skill package.
How about the game back in early May when he faced 6'11" John Roush, pitcher with the Mets?
I'm waiting for the rematch. I want Roush to cover first base so we can actually get them side by side.
Stay tuned. Full count, 3-2 on Maxwell. Carlos Lee waiting on deck. Snyder, Lee, and Maxwell with the Astro homers today, accounting for 5 of the 6 Houston runs. Maxwell did not go around. It's ball 4. Second walk issued by Ogando as we take a walk down memory lane. Some other notable shorter players in baseball history.
There you go. Freddie Patek was a true 5'5". Had a long career in the big leagues. Joe Morgan, a towering 5'7". Of course, David Eckstein, scouts used to call him just enough because he had just enough skills to actually win a couple of World Series rings. And Altuve at 5'5". I didn't think I would say this, but he is a smaller version of Dustin Pedroia.
Carlos Lee at the plate. We take you back to Wednesday night. These are very high fives for
that's not
Altuve.
fair, Carlos. Come on. Give the little guy a break. Teammates love him. you know, like Pedroia, he brings a certain energy to the game. Defensively, he's turned actually into a very good base stealer, base runner. Works very hard at it. I mean, he's a guy I think is going to be a fan favorite here for years to come.
Maxwell takes lead off first, one away, bottom of the 7th inning. 2-0 to Lee. Towering pop-up down the right field line in foul territory. The basket catch is made by the second baseman Kinsler for out number 2.
Yeah, Kenny, that was a difficult play he made easy, look easy. Don't forget, with Lee up at the plate, he's shading him towards second base. He has a long, long way to run for this ball. And here he's just keeping his hands nice and still. He's not getting his glove up towards his eyes and getting twisted around.
Were his eyes closed when he caught this? Looked like they were.
He added to the degree of difficulty there. Look, Ma, eyes closed.
So with 2 away, here's Jed Lowry. Lowry 1 for 3. Astros lead 6-5. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th inning. Rangers won the series opener last night 4-1. Rangers have won 9 of their last 10 games in this ballpark. They've won the Silver Boot each of the last 5 seasons, representing the winner of the season series between these clubs during interleague play. Maxwell goes, throw down to second, winds up in center field. Maxwell in at third.
That's a great opportunity to run right there, whether on his own or by sign there. Maxwell's a guy in the minor leagues that has 79% success rate stealing bases. That is a very high percentage.
So it's the first steal of the season for Maxwell, and he moves to third on the Napoli throwing error.
You know, you've got 2 outs. Instead of playing for 2 more hits to get a run in, take the chance, get yourself in the scoring position. If you get thrown out, you've got Lowry leading off the next inning.
Lowry pops it up. First baseman Young in foul territory. And the Astros are retired in the 7th. Maxwell stranded on third. We move to the 8th in Houston. 6-5 Astros. Ball night in America is presented by Chevrolet. Top of the 8th inning, Astros lead the Rangers 6-5. Wilton Lopez working his second inning of relief, facing Michael Young, who is 0 for 3 today. Michael Young now 1 for 4. A leadoff single here in the 8th. Wesley Wright and Fernando Rodriguez up and throwing in the Astros pen. Here comes Brad Mills as the Rangers, Tom, have the leadoff man on for the first time in tonight's game.
Well, with Murphy at the plate, he's going to go to his other left-handed reliever. He only has 2. He's already used 1. He's going to use his bullet now.
Here comes Wesley Wright. We'll be back. Fan guide to register for a chance to win a VIP experience for 2 to a 2012 World Series game presented by Scotts, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Well, Brad Mills made the move to the left-hander Wesley Wright with David Murphy due up. But because lefty hitters are just 2 for 24 against Wright this season, Ron Washington sends out pinch hitter Brandon Snyder.
National League Baseball. It's, you know, it's about matchups. We talked about that. Ron Washington sitting there with those right-handers on the bench, and right-handers have had their way with Wesley Wright. He's basically a left-handed specialist, great sweeping breaking ball that he features to lefties. But in this situation, he needs to get a right-hander out.
Snyder hit a pinch hit home run on Tuesday. Runner on first, Young, with nobody out. Top of the 8th inning here in Houston. Wright, the 4th Astros pitcher. Rangers have the leadoff man on for the first time in this game. In front of a sellout crowd, 42,673. Second sellout here at Minute Maid Park this season.
Don't forget the Rangers have Cruz and Napoli sitting behind Snyder. More right-handed hitters. You may see Brandon Lyon in the game next.
There's a base hit into left center. Young moves to second, so the Rangers, with back-to-back singles by Young and Snyder, have 2 on with nobody out.
And that's the situation. If you're Brett Mills, you know they're going to go to the bench there. The question is, would you rather have Lopez on Murphy or Wright on Snyder? You know, he ran through all those scenarios, and obviously that was the matchup that he wanted.
Mills back out to the mound. And he calls for the right-hander, Brandon Lyon. Astros lead by a run. 2 on, nobody out for the Rangers, top of the 8th. 5 after 12 weeks of total seclusion. 4 remaining fighters compete for the final 2 spots. Don't miss the semifinals on the Ultimate Fighter Live, Friday at 10 only on FX. Brandon Lyon out of the Astros bullpen comes on to face Nelson Cruz, who took Lyon deep in his only career at bat against Lyon. 2 on, nobody out. Young the runner on second. Snyder takes his lead off first. Astros lead by a run, top of the 8th inning. The 1-0 to Cruz, and he pops it up. Shallow right field. Rogosevic makes the catch, 1 away.
Nice job by Lyon there. You know, since we are in the Space City, Brad Mills, I think by the time the year ends, will have walked to the moon and back with the pitching changes he makes. And in part, again, because they have a matchup bullpen. And earlier they had an 8-man bullpen. He had a game against the Mets where he used 7 pitchers against 7 batters. The starting pitcher and then 5 consecutive relievers for 1 batter each, and then brought his closer, Brett Myers, into the game. First time in baseball history, 5 relievers to face 1 batter each. It's a lot of trips to the mound, Kenny.
So many small steps for mankind by Brad Mills out of the Astros dugout.
Well said.
1 away. Here's Mike Napoli. Napoli 1 for 2 with a walk. First pitch, fouls it off to the right side. Craig Gentry has come out into the on-deck circle to bat for the pitcher, Ogondo. Back-to-back base hits to start the inning. Young and the pinch hitter, Snyder. Cruz fly out to right. And now the 0-1 from Lyon to Napoli. Strike 2.
That's his out pitch right there. Early in his career, Brandon Lyon was a guy who would challenge you with fastballs with plus velocity. A lot of injuries later. He's a guy who's got terrific command of his curveball, mixes in the cutter, a changeup. Really throws a minority of his pitches now as fastballs. Napoli here is set up where Lyon can throw just about anything that he wants.
Napoli 0 for 3 lifetime against Lyon. Nice block by the catcher, Snyder. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Astros trailed 4-0. They lead 6-5. Season high 3 home runs for Houston. Two and 2.
Yeah, I got to believe ahead on the count there, he's just showing fastball there. Certainly not going to give Napoli a fastball in the zone. Let's see if he'll go back to that breaking ball here.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Top of the 8th inning. Ground ball to the right side. Altuve to second for 1, out to first. And it looks like the runner at second is safe. And Brad Mills out to argue.
I think Ted Barrett made a good call there at second base, Kenny. I know it's the neighborhood play, but you have to be in the neighborhood and not just in the county.
So safe at second, Snyder. Young moves to third. Napoli out at first, so it will be second and third with 2 outs. Tom, one more look.
Well, the throw from Altuve takes Lowry a little bit to his left there.
Oh, looks like right foot was on the bag. What do you think?
I think I need to see another angle. Isn't that the beauty of replay that the umpires don't have? Okay, let's take a look again. The throw to Lowry's left.
He dragged the right foot off. The question is, was the ball in his glove? Here's a third look. It was close.
Very, very close. As I said, you know, it was actually closer than I thought upon seeing it in real time. Generally, you're going to get that out call at second base, Kenny, if it's that close. I didn't see an obvious space between his foot and the bag when the ball hit the glove.
So second and third, 2 outs with Craig Gentry pinch hitting for Ogondo. Young, the runner on third, Snyder at second. Astros lead by a run. Gentry facing Lyon for the first time. Gentry awaiting the 1-1. Strike 2. Fans rise to their feet, at least the Astros portion of the crowd. Now 2-2. Lyon, the third pitcher of the inning for Houston. Young, the leadoff single off Lopez. Snyder with a pinch single off Wright. Lyon has retired Cruz, and Napoli thought he had a double play to get out of the inning. Warner ruled safe at second. And now the 2-2 to the pinch hitter Gentry. Got a piece of it.
One thing to keep in mind with Gentry, extremely fast runner. Even from the right side of the batter's box, he's going to put pressure on the infielders. You got a pitcher out there who's a ground ball pitcher. You'll see even on the corners with Lee and Downs, they can't afford to just play range because of Gentry's speed. Normally in a situation with 2 strikes, 2 outs here, you'd see them back up and play more range. But with Gentry, you have to respect the speed. Any ball left topped in front of them could be a base hit. Even balls to the infield, middle infielders, right or left, that are on the move, they need to get rid of it in a hurry. All the infielders know that. Part of what speed does.
Two. Fly ball center field. Maxwell makes the catch. And that will end the inning. The Rangers strand runners on second and third. Terrific job by Lyon. Middle of the 8th, and Houston still 6-5 Astros.
It's sponsored by MasterCard. Shop and pay your bills online with MasterCard prepaid cards. Many changes for the Texas Rangers. Brandon Snyder remains in the game in left field. Craig Gentry remains in the game in center field. Moving from center to right is Josh Hamilton. And the new pitcher for the Rangers is the Houston native, another native of Houston, the 28-year-old right-hander Mark Lowe. He will face Matt Downs leading off for the Astros here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Astros trailed 4-0. They lead 6-5. Rangers scoring 3 of their runs on an inside-the-park home run off the bat of David Murphy back in the 3rd. And then you mentioned, Tom, the possibility of a second inside-the-park home run when Elvis Andrus tripled up Towles Hill in the 7th inning. Marty Aronoff, our statistician, along with the folks at Stats Inc., have been doing some extensive research over the last couple of innings. You ask, they answer.
Wow, that's service. What do you got?
A couple of things for you after the 1-1 pitch from Lowe. The last time there were 2 inside-the-park home runs in the same game, you have to go back to May of 1997. Sammy Sosa of the Cubs, Tony Womack of the Pirates, both in the 6th inning. There have not been 2 hit by the same team since October of 1986, both by Greg Gagne of the Minnesota Twins.
Wow, having a day. I would have thought you would have been back in the dead ball era back in 1903 or 1905, something like that. That's a rarity.
So Gagne did it against the White Sox, October 4th, 86. 2 inside-the-park home runs in the same game.
I think they must have given him the next day off. That's a lot of running right there.
Downs lifts this one into dead center. 1 away. Well, Chevrolet is building the next generation of baseball memories. Here's our Ken Rosenthal to tell you more.
As the official vehicle of Major League Baseball, Chevrolet is proud to be building the next generation of memories. Join Chevy as they rebuild youth baseball fields across the country. Go to ChevyBaseball.com to enter for a chance for your community to win a youth field makeover.
Thanks very much, Ken. Wonder which bow tie Ken's wearing tonight.
I always tune in just for that. Well, the baseball too, but the suspense.
Bow tie first, baseball second.
There you go.
J.D. Martinez doubled and scored his last time up. The only run scored by the Astros tonight that did not come via the long ball. They've hit a season-high 3 home runs. Snyder, Lee, and Maxwell. Taking a page out of the Texas Rangers book.
They really have. Didn't see this coming. A team 13th in the National League in home runs has used the long ball today to not just come back into this game, but to take the lead.
1-2 on Martinez. Brett Myers getting ready in the Astros pen. With the top of the order due up for the Rangers. Kinsler, Andrus, and Hamilton.
It's amazing the way the game works, isn't it? It always seems to come that way. You get a 1-run game, you're the closer, and you wind up facing either the top or the middle of the order last time around.
Martinez strikes out. 2 up, 2 down. Here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Great job by our entire crew tonight here in Houston. Our producer Aaron Stoikov, director Michael Frank, associate director Chirag Devaskar, broadcast associate Gilbert Zepeda, technical producer Danny Rotante, technical director Damon McGavick. Pre-game show produced by Rich Ciansimono, directed by Mark Deaver. Pre-game coordinating producers Mike Santini and Don Bowie. Our statisticians Marty Aronoff and Jason Thornberry. Two away. Here's Chris Snyder. Got things started for the Astros with a solo homer back in the 3rd inning. Off Texas starter Derek Holland, who allowed 3 home runs after he was given a 4-0 lead.
And our crew's had a lot to keep track of, Ken. We've only had 2 half innings that went 1, 2, 3 to this point. A lot of managerial decisions to make. This is National League Baseball. I know the Texas Rangers are here, but interleague game, this is National League Baseball. And we talked about Ron Washington, you know, a guy who came up with the Dodgers system. He loves this kind of baseball. I'm not sure he likes the scoreboard right now, but the pace of the game, decisions that have to be made, managers like that.
And Washington also finished his career as a member of the Astros. Played 7 games with Houston in 1989. And as you mentioned earlier, tomorrow will be the last interleague game in Houston between these clubs, as the Astros will move to the American League West next season. Line shot right into the glove of Adrian Beltre. So we head to the 9th. It'll be Kinsler, Andrews, and Hamilton to face Brett Myers. This season on to try and close things out for the Astros, who lead 6-5. He will face the top of the Rangers order. Ian Kinsler will lead off. Marwin Gonzalez now in at third base on the double switch. How about these numbers, Tom? 5 for 7 with 3 home runs lifetime against Brett Myers.
Wow. And I'm not sure if they could quote you exactly what the numbers are, but they know approximately, each one of these guys, what those numbers are.
Now, it's been a rough night for Kinsler. He has struck out 3 times for only the 2nd time in his career. Check swing. 0-2.
That's what you're going to get from Brett Myers. I mean, he is a breaking ball specialist now as a closer. Actually, his velocity is the best it's been in 5 years. But that breaking ball is his bread and butter.
Kinsler got a piece of it to stay alive. You saw Andrews and Hamilton. Texas won the series opener last night 4-1. Astros lead this game 6-5. Top of the 9th inning. The 0-2 for Myers. Kinsler fouls it off to the right side.
You see the fastball there at 93. It stands to reason. You go from the rotation back to the bullpen, shortening up your work. You're going to see an increase in velocity. So even though he's not throwing that fastball a lot, he's got a lot more on his pitches now than he did as a starter.
Kinsler for the 4th time tonight down on strikes. Time now for the Burger King smooth plays of the game. Astros 3 home runs. Snyder a solo shot in the 3rd. Then Lee a 2-run homer in the 4th. Maxwell 2-run shot in the 5th. A season high 3 home runs tonight for the Houston Astros.
And if you had a map of the strike zone, all 3 of those home runs were in approximately the same spot, up and out over the plate.
Elvis Andrews takes ball 1.
You would have thought we'd be talking about the Texas Rangers if we were talking about home runs, coming back into the game with 3 home runs, but instead, season high Houston Astros home run.
1-1 now on Andrews, who has never faced Brett Myers. Andrews tripled his last time up. He has scored 2 runs tonight. Base hit into left field, so a 1-out single off the bat of Andrews. The potential tying run is on at first.
Threw a great slider right before that and then went to the curveball, and give Andrews credit for staying on that pitch and getting himself on base. And obviously now you've got to pay attention to Elvis Andrews. You've got your hands full, I know, with the guy at the plate. But you just cannot focus in on Josh Hamilton right now for Brett Myers.
1 out, top of the 9th inning. Hamilton first pitch. Lee steps on the bag. Andrews caught in the rundown. And Andrews is out at second. And the ball game is over. So the Houston Astros defeat the Texas Rangers. Ron Washington out to argue that final call at second base as Andrews was tagged out after Carlos Lee stepped on the bag to retire Josh Hamilton.
It wasn't a textbook rundown there. The force is now off. Once he steps on the bag, you get the pitcher involved, and anything can happen right here. And Andrews right now is going to try to outrun him. But you see Brett Myers reach out, and Ted Barrett says, yes, got him on the leg.
Scoring 3-6-1.
And Ron Washington did come out to question Ted Barrett on the call, but it does appear that he got him on the heel.
A couple of close plays at second in the late innings. And the Astros, in come-from-behind fashion, defeat the Rangers by the score of 6-5. Myers, the fifth out of the pen for the Astros tonight, picks up his 10th save. For Tom Verducci and our entire crew, this is Kenny Albert. So long from Houston. After this break, we'll send it to Matt Vescursion, Harold Reynolds, and Eric Burns in the MLB Network studio.